Okay, if you've installed your test editor, which is on VS Code, so you can as well start writing your first program. So how do you do that? Just go to your system and create a folder. So I've already created mine and open up a folder. So once you click on this, you see open folder. Just click on the open folder. Then you look for one of the files that you have created. So it will take you to your local system. So you must have created one of those folder. And I'll just go to the one that I created earlier, which is found in this. And so you can create your folder anyway, it doesn't really matter. So this is the one I want to make use of. So open up this, and this is going to it's going to stand out as a project for you. So whatever code you're going to write is going to be here. So this is open up on our VS Code now, and we can start creating files. Now to create your file, if you just hover on this, you'll see file. You can create your file this way, and you can create your folders this way. And if you hover on this, you're going to see the refresh. So if you want to refresh this, you do that. And if you want to collapse this folder, you can as well do this. So these are some of the stuff that you're going to be using. So the first thing that I want to do is to create our first file so we can run our first program. So to do that, you're just going to hit this, and we'll have the first file. Let's call it index.js. So that is what we want to call it. So we can decide to write our first program. Then our first program we just want to write is in console.log. Now, this is just a convention, a way of printing out something on the screen so you could see a certain result. So when you're writing a program and you want to see a certain result, you can just print this out. So how do we do that? We'll do this, just try to memorize this console.log, right? Now, whatever I put in this brackets, I was trying to explain before now, so I think I was too fast. So this is actually a method, but we're going to be explaining what the method is in the nearest future. Just know when you want to print out anything, you use console.log, and you'll be surprised that I'm always putting this semicolon. Yes, at the end of every statement, you always put the semicolon. But in the case of JavaScript, it doesn't really matter if you put that or not. But we're actually teaching you that so you can get used to it in case you're writing other programming languages like PHP, C#, as the case may be. If you don't put this, you're going to throw you an error, right? Okay, so right now, we're just going to print out something. So you can say 5, you can say 6, right? Then you can also decide to print out whatever you want. Maybe you want to print out letters, and that is called string. A string is anything that has a double quote. For now, that's what we're going to call string. So we can just write out something in here and say, hello world. So once we've done that, we just want to see the result of the program that we've written. How do we check that? So we're going to go to this terminal. Then we'll go to new terminal. On this new terminal, right, we'll just open up this terminal. And right here, we'll find our terminal. And we must make sure that we're on the same directory with it. And that was the reason why we actually opened this up. So always follow the process of opening this up here. For now, you may not understand what directory is, but in the nearest future, you will. So it must be in the same location. That's what it means. At least I believe you have some basic, I believe everyone watching this have some basic computer knowledge. So this is the location of where we are now. So it must be the same with this. So let's run our first code. So to run our first code, we're just going to say node, then we'll say index. And that is all we need to do. So we can say index.js, that's the name of the file. So we say node, then the name of the file that we want to run. So after doing this, make sure you save your program by using Ctrl X, then it will be saved. Now, if your program is not saved, just take a look at this place. Take a look at this. If it's not saved, you're going to see something that looks circular, right? It's going to come up with circle form, but when you save it, you're going to see something that looks like X, right? So do that. So once it is saved, then we can run a program by typing this, and this must be the node, then the name of your file. So this is the name of the file we just created, which is called index.js. So a moment of truth. So as you can see, this is the result of what we just printed out. So we are running our program on our console. Is that okay? So this is JavaScript for backend development. Okay. Congratulations in writing your first statement. And this now leads us to more statements. So when we look at more statements, now you must be wondering, what does this mean? This actually means comment. What is a comment? A comment is actually, just as it implies, it gives you details of what your program does, right? It will not run. So to create a comment, you just use a forward slash twice, and you put in whatever the comment is, right? So I just made a comment. So if I'm running this program, if you want to test it out now, I can test out this program. And in case you want to run up the program again, you don't have to start typing everything all again right here in your terminal like this node or index. No, you don't need all that. So all you need to do is to use your arrow key, your up arrow key and your down arrow keys. You see if I use the up arrow key, it brings you to the previous one. And if I run it, you can still see it's running and this is not running. Can you see that? That is because this is a what? A comment. So let's move on. So we have more comments, one statement. We're going to be picking some statements. So what do we actually mean by statements? This is a statement. What we've just written here is called a statement. A statement is just a piece of code that actually gives what? An expression that actually gives what? An expression. Let me call it expression for now. So this is a statement, right? So if I write another statement, I can write another statement and say, let age equal to 5. This is also a statement, right? Okay. Now, this is what we call statements. Now, at this juncture, we also need to teach you what is called variables. Very important, we do that. Variables. So what are variables? Now, to declare a variable, variables happens to be a container that holds a certain data. Is that okay? So it's just like a container is holding a certain data. If you remember in your math class, when you were told that x is equal to 5, right? Then you were told that y is equal to maybe 4. And they now ask you what is y plus x. It simply means they're asking you that what is the value of 4 plus 5? And your result should be 9. This is what the variable is, right? It means that the value of x is 5. So anywhere you find x, you're going to replace it with 5. That's exactly what we're trying to create here. So to create that in JavaScript, you're going to use the keyword let or var or const. And I'm going to be explaining them to you one after the other. Now, I'm going to start with the let. Now, the let convention is when you want, you can still change what you have in your variable. For example, if I say let name, right? I want to say let x, for example, equal to 5. And that is my variable. Then I can come in here and say let, yeah, y equal to 4. So I just created a variable. So anywhere I find x, we also call, anywhere I find y, we said it's equal to 4. Now, this is a statement, just the way you see it here. This is also a statement. So we just made 2 statements. So we can decide to add both statements together and say, we can console.log out. You know what that means now? When you're console.log out a statement, console.log out something, it means you want to print out the result. So console.log out x plus y, right? So if we try to console.log out x plus y, it's because we want to output the result. What do you think we're going to see? 9, of course, because it's just going to say x is 5 and y is 4. So x plus y, and you will get 9. So if you check out that, you see the result is 9. So we're still seeing the first result here that says hello world. So I can just comment that out. Don't forget I said, when you make a comment, what you're actually doing is that you're just taking it off, right? You're just, it's not going to run. So that program is not going to run again. So if I try to run that again, come down to my terminal and I use this, the program is not going to run again. I'm just going to see 9. Okay. So sometimes when you're writing your program and maybe it's even a working program and you don't just want that program to actually run, you can select it and comment it out. And you might be wondering how I did it just once. I didn't come in front of this and did the double. I didn't do this. So what did I do? Very simple. When you want to write a comment, maybe you even forget how to make a comment. On this Visual Studio code, it's quite easy. Just select everything and use the control /. So it's going to help you to make a comment on it. Is that okay? So now that we've done that, it's just going to print out this. So this is a statement. Statement always ends with a semicolon. And this is a statement and with a semicolon as well. And this is also a statement. So a variable has been declared, right? And a value has been assigned to it. So what we did is that we declared the variable called x with this length, and the value was assigned. That's value assignment variable assignment operator is to equal to, right? We said it's equal to 5. And here we said let y equal to what? 4. We did the same thing. And we're trying to print both out. And here we're getting 9. Okay. Now I also think it's time for us to learn a little bit of some data type. For now, let's learn this common data type that we're going to be using. Now you can see in some cases when I wanted to add quote, I put this in a double quote, right? And in this case, there was no double quote here. And here I just put this, sorry, in this case, I didn't put any quote. It was just 4, just like that. So how do I necessarily, when do we necessarily need to put a quote, a double quote, or a single quote, or without a quote? So that's what we're going to be looking at. So we look at the first data type, is called integer. Now, in JavaScript, we call it number, right? But we know that this number can be split into what is called int, can be split to what is called float as well. Is that okay? In some programming languages, we have what is called the double. But in JavaScript, we call these numbers. So what are these numbers? So let's look at the example. So I'm just going to be giving you an example. Int, for example, is 5, right? Example of int, so I'm just going to put the dash there. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's int, right? Just an whole number, right? Now, int can also be a negative number, as this may be. So it may be negative 5, it may be 6, it may be 10, right? But not a decimal point, not a decimal number. The float in this case in JavaScript is a number, a decimal number, right? So we're just going to be having a decimal number. So I'll just give you an example, maybe 5.6. Doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, 4.7, and so on and so forth. These are called floats. And we also have, okay, I think that is okay. For some other programming languages, you're going to learn what is called double. Okay, so JavaScript calls all these numbers, right? So these are the numbers, the int and the float. So they are all listed out. So in a case like this, we want to make use of this float or this int. For example, we want to create a variable for int. What we're going to do is that we're not going to put a quote. So this does not require quotes. Everything that has to do with number does not require a quote. So if you're creating a variable, for example, I'm creating a variable just the way I did here, you can see there was no quote equal to 5. There was no quote. That is what I mean by quote. I didn't put it like this, right? I can't do that, right? Because it's a number that I'm treating, and I can't put a single quote as well like this because I'm treating a number, right? Good. So let's move on to another one. The next one that we'll actually quickly look at is called a float. Oh, sorry, it's called the string. Very common to use. This string is the one that requires double quotes. For example, the name of a person. Is that okay? Just a letter, just letters, combination of letters, combination of characters. This is string. So you could do this. These are strings. You're going to put it in double quotes. I am a boy. You put it in string as the case may be. So this is called string and it must be in double quotes. Did you wonder you found this being in double quotes? Can you see this? This was in double quotes earlier, right? Because you want to print out a string. If you don't put it in double quotes, you're going to get an error. So let's just check that out. For example, I can say console. Okay, like this first one that I did here, I'm just going to comment this first one right away. I will uncomment this and run this again. And if we run this, we're just going to see this output. We're going to see two output now, hello world. Can you see that? Now, if I try to take away the quote without the quote, I'm going to get an error. So if I try to take away the quotes from this and just want to type hello world, I'll get an error. As you can see, it's already underlining it, which means that there's already a problem even before running it. So if I try to run that, I will get an error, right? Good. And that is because I required to put a what string. So he said it. So it's just going to tell you that something is actually missing, that you're not doing well. So this must be in a double quotes, right? Because you're actually dealing with a string, right? And with that, you're not going to be having any issues and everything is just going to go on well. So if you try to run this again, you're just going to see that everything went on well, right? So that is a string. So string requires you to put them in a double quote. Then we also have what is called a character, which many people, most of us normally call char. And the reason why we call it char, many of us call it char, because it is always like the CHAR, and that's the short form. So this character variables actually required you to data type, actually required you to put in a single quote like this, right? So if you want to put in anything, you put a single quote. For example, I want to write hash with a single quote. Now, this could be necessary for cases like what grade. Is that okay? So what I'm going to do now that I've done this, I'm just going to make use of all these variables and just declare a variable for it and print them out quickly. So let's take the first one. So the next one we're going to do, I guess we are done with this. So I'm just going to clean up this code now that we know what we are actually looking at. So I'm just going to clean off everything. Good. So I'm going to declare a variable. Then I'm going to concatenate. And that leads us to a topic called concatenation. Very simple. So just know that the concept you're learning here is the concept generally for all programming languages. All programming language. It may not be done exactly the same way, but you're going to definitely see it in every programming language. They are exactly the same. So concatenation. Let's take, for example, that I want to bring, concatenation is just a way of bringing two things, two variables together. So let's say I want to say age. I declare a variable called age. So I'll say let age. So I'm using the let keyword, let age. So I'm still going to explain to you the other variables of the other variable const. Now, you can use let, right? And var interchangeably. You can use var, you can use length, but the ES6 we always use length. Now, let me quickly come in. The const is actually used when you do not want to change the variable, right? So I'm going to demonstrate that later. So let's say age, because age will certainly change. So let's say age is equal to 23. So you can see that it's a number. So I'm putting that as without a quote. Then I now say the person's name. I'll say let the person name be John Doe. That's the person's name. And let the person's location, say let location be maybe Lagos. Lagos, Nigeria. So we just have this. So these are the variables that I created. So I want to bring out all these variables and just print them out on a particular line. So I want to have a situation where I say console.log. For example, I say console.log. I can print out everything that I needed to print out. So I can say my name is, so I want to bring out what is called concatenation. So see how it works. For example, I want to say my name is, so I have to put it in the string, my name is, so I'll give you some space. Now I want to concatenate it with this variable, that is whatever this person enters here, so because this can change. The person can decide to be Felicia, the person can decide to be James, the person can decide to be Sylvester, right? So I'm just going to concatenate it with that variable, so which is name. So if you check out that, it's saying that my name is plus name. So what does this plus mean? This plus is a sign of concatenation. It is not the normal addition of numbers that you know. No. So it's acting as a concatenating, character here. So what it's doing is actually bringing these two together. So it's bringing this first one and it's bringing this second one together. And most times I don't like using name for variables because it's a keyword. So I'll just make it instead of name, I'll just say the F name, which means first name. Okay. So I'm going to be showing you why I used that, what is called camel kissing. Okay. So I'm just going to say F name, and that's the name here. So what we're trying to do is that we're concatenating it. So what I will print out that is going to say my name is whatever that name is. So he said my name is John Doe, right? If I change this name to Sylvester, which is my name, you're just going to see something different now. It's going to say my name is Sylvester. So just think about it. You're slotting your AT card into an ATM machine. You're slotting your credit card and it's able to read your name. So this is what it does. So it's reading the variables. The variable is here is Sylvester. So this is called concatenation. So we just concatenated this. I can concatenate it with others again and add others. I can say my name is Sylvester. I am dash years old. Okay, so let me do this. I am. So you can see what I just did again because I want to continue. So I have to concatenate again with a plus, right? Then I put in whatever I want to put. Sometimes you might be wondering, why am I leaving some space here? Okay, let me show you this. If I don't leave some space here, for example, I said, I want to take this off and say, I like this one to be here. So I want to say, I am, okay, that's what I want to do. So just watch. And if I run this, you're going to see my name is Sylvester. You can see there's no space between these two words. So as a result of that, whatever space you create here is going to be created by the string. Can you see one space? It means a space is going to be created within that string. Can you see that? And if I want more space, I say more space. So I can do that as well. That space is also going to be what we created in there. Is that okay? You can see that said I am. You can see the space between them. So that is the reason why I always leave that space in between them. Okay. So good. So we said I am this. I am so I am 5 years old, I'm 23 years old. I am so I'm going to concatenate it age, right? I concatenate it with age, then I concatenate it with another string that I want to bring here because I'm concatenating that with the variable. I am, 23 years, right, old. So whatever stuff that is entered there is just going to print it out. So in this case, it's saying that I am 23 years old. So my name is Sylvester. I am 23 years old. So it's definitely printing it out exactly the way we want it to print out. So we can also concatenate this. I'll leave that to you as an assignment to do the concatenation. Is that okay? So we can end this with a statement. You can see without me ending it with this, it still works. But it's always good for you to end with the semicolon, right? Because if you're working in other programming language, that's going to be a thorn in one's flesh. So you have to be very careful. So right now, we've learned how to concatenate, how to bring it two strings together. Okay, now I think it's worth it for us to know the name to choose, how to make our variable, how to choose our variable names as well. So we're going to be looking at how to choose our variable names. So for that, I'm going to be taking this off as well. So how to use the variable name, naming convention. So it's called convention. So it's always advisable that when you're naming in JavaScript, you try as much as possible to use, a lowercase as the name of your variable. For example, I'll say let age, right? I'm not going to say let age. I can use that. That is when I want the age to be a constant. I can use the capital letter or true, right? But the convention, I can use anything anyway. The truth is that I can actually use anything. But the convention for JavaScript is that you should start with a lowercase. So if I want to create a variable that says place, I'm going to start with the lowercase, right? So let place. So I can create my variable this way without assigning it. I just say let place. I've created a variable. Then I can later assign it. I can say place equal to 4. So the one will be, sorry, place equal to Lagos. So the ones we'll be doing before now is creating and assigning. So what I've just done is I just create, right? So you can create, there are cases you have to create, then later you assign. So this was created and this was assigned. And if I go this way, I'm trying to print out this console.log where it was assigned. For example, I'm trying to print out place. Now, when you're printing out variable, you just print out the name of the variable. Do not put it in a quote. Is that okay? So we're printing it out place. So if we're printing place, what do you think we're going to see? Definitely, we're going to see Lagos as the place, right? That is good. So this is assign, creating and assigning. So you can create and assign at the same time. That is what we've been doing before now. So we just say let's, right? We say let's place equal to Lagos. And that is it. So that means you just created and you just assign. So this is a way of creating and assign, which we've been doing before now. Okay, back to our naming convention. Always start with a lower case. Is that okay? Now, if you have two words connected, for example, you're giving a naming convention like that contains two words like first name, right? First name, there are two words. So how do you deal with that? So this is how you use that. You say first. That's the first word. Is that okay? The second word, you're going to begin with a capital letter, right? It's called camel casing. So this is first name is equal to me or ne, right? So for example, you want to also create a last name. You say last name. Can you see that? Follow the convention, right? And create that way. So if you have up to 4 or 5 words, maybe you want to say type of or name of school. Name of school, that's the variable you want to create. So you can say let's name of school. I think I made a mistake. I should have put a let here. So let's say let's name of school. So I want to call that's the variable name. Then the next word, I was beginning with a capital letter of. The next word, school. Let name of school. Can you see that? Then I will now say the name of school is Unilag, right? Or Uniben. So can you see that? So you can just put in this and name of school. So we have the name, then we have the of. So this is called the camel casing. So this is the convention we normally follow when we are naming any variable. We'll make sure that the first letter must begin with a lowercase. Then if we have another word connected to it, that first word will begin with a capital letter, and so on and so forth. Is that okay? So this is the convention. Then it's time for me to talk about the concept of the, the let and the and the const. So let's, for example, I say let age be 14. Now I can change the age now. I say age now is equal to 45, right? At first I said age is equal to 14, but now what I'm not doing, I created this and I assigned this. I said it's equal to 14. Now the system knows, everybody knows, right? Including me, we all know that this is 14. But here we came back and say age is equal to 45. What it's doing is overriding this. It is called override. Is that okay? So it has overridden this. So that means that age is no longer going to be 14, it's going to be 45. So if I try to print out age now, oh, sorry, this is not Python. So if I try to print out age, I'm going to be getting age. So let's see that now. So if I save this and I come down here and move this upward a little, so you're going to see age is equal to what? 45, no longer 14. And if this wasn't there, if I comment this out, that is, if that wasn't there, of course, age would have been what? 14. Can you see that? So it has overridden what was in existence, what was there before now. So that is exactly how it works. Okay, so let's quickly look at another one again and see. So this is the overriding effect. And because I use the let key word. Now I can also decide to use the const and just see the difference of what we're going to be getting. Now at this point where I'm using const, I'm going to be getting an error. And I will tell you the reason I will get an error. So const age is equal to 14. Const age is equal to 14. So the reason I will get an error is because I came in here and I want to change what I've declared as constant. So this const means constant, which means that it cannot be overridden. I can't come back here to change it. That means it's just going to be permanent. And if I don't want it again, I can just come in here, change it here. I can't come back, go to another line of code and say, okay, I want to turn this to 45. It's not going to work. So it's going to throw me an error. So let's check that out now. Quickly, moment of truth. So as you can see, I'm getting a fatal error. So you can move this up and move this cursor up so you can see some of the errors that you're getting. So as you can see, it's already giving me an error. So what is this saying? It's saying a whole lot, but let's just see what it's actually saying. It's saying that we are trying to create we created a variable that we call const, but we want to change it. So we can't change the value of const. Can you see that? So we can't do that. That is it. So when you're using the const, just be sure that you're not going to be overriding it. But if it is something that you're going to be overriding, that you're going to change the content, then you're just going to use the let key word. Is that okay? So with that, with the naming convention, we go into another section. And this section now is operators. Operators. Now you can always check out documentation of operators when you go to when you go, or you can check out some of the documentations. For example, you can say JavaScript operators, JavaScript operators. So always learn to do a research documentation to check for some certain stuff. So if you want to be a very good developer, you must learn to always read documentation, make your Google search, and because some certain things can change. Now, I might be taking you this year, and maybe in the next 10 years, some certain things, a lot of things must have changed. And no longer, even in fact, 10 years is quite far. It's some certain things are not just going to be working exactly the way, so you might change it. So it's also good that you actually able to read it and understand it yourself. So here are some of the operators that we talked about. The equal to, which we've actually used, that's to assign. The addition, we've used it. Now we also have the multiplication. And of course, just to multiply numbers or multiply variables together. Then we have the greater than. Then we also have what is called the less than. Is that okay? We have the greater than, just the way we have the greater than, we have the less than. We have the double equal to, which is the comparison operator. This is called the comparison operator. The double equal to, this is the assignment operator. We have the arithmetic operator, plus, minus, plus, minus, less than, and the rest of them. We have the ternary operator. So you can read some of the documentation here. So take a look at this. This is arithmetic operators. We have the plus, minus, multiplication. This is exponential. This is for exponential. And this actually is an EX6 format of writing exponential, and it's used in 2006. Then we have the modulus. We have increments, which is plus, plus. Then we have decrements. The decrement is actually a minus, minus. We're going to see all that later. And if you go down a little bit, we have the JavaScript assignment operator, which is the equal to that we've talked about before now. The assignment operator. Now, other assignment operator could be plus equal to, which means that you're increasing that by 1, minus equal to, you're decreasing the variable by 1, you're multiplying the variable, you're dividing the variable, you're looking for, you understand? So these are very simple, which you're going to be making use of. Now, you might be wondering, do I necessarily need to cram everything? No, you don't have to cram all. There are a few ones that you should know and you should remember. And this is called the equal to. You want to compare two things to see if they are actually the same. You do equal to. Then we have equal value and equal type. Now this equal value and equal type is the triple equal to. That means the data type must be the same and the value must also be the same. So this is for the triple equal to. So we're going to be using them one after the other. This is not equal to. This is also not equal to. That is not equal value or not equal type. The greater than, the less than, the greater than or equal to, the less than or equal to. Then the ternary operation, which we're going to be using so most time maybe in if statements, as the case may be. See, these are operators, so you can always find this out. You can make use of this. The link is in the description. You can just go to the link on www. and check out literary schools and check out some of this and how they are used. So this is documentation. So this is how you also read documentation on your own. So you are expected to be able to do that. Okay. So now, as I said, talk is cheap. So let's start applying many of them. Okay. The first one that we're going to apply, of course, we've applied the plus, right? Just we apply the plus, the minus, also the multiplication. Or if I say let num, right? Let num equal to 4. And I come in here and say let, okay. And I come in here and say print. So I say console.log. Now, instead of num, I can just say num, right? I say num plus 1. I've done all this before now. So what it's just going to do is just going to increment that by 2. Okay, by 2. So if you check out that, we're going to get 6, definitely. That's what it's printing out. So imagine if I turn this to a multiplication sign, right? That is multiplied. What do you think you'll get? You're just going to get, as expected, 8. And if I turn that to a division sign, which is /, it's going to say that number divide this. So let me take this off. So if you do that, it's going to just take the number, which is 4, and divide by this, and you will get 2, and so on and so forth, right? Then the next one we would like to learn also is called the modulus. If I say the number modulus 2, I'm going to get 0. And I'm going to explain to you how that works quickly. So I'll get 0. So what modulus simply means is that multiply, divide a number, that is number 4, by 2, and write the remainder. So what it means is that it's already telling us the remainder. So when we say 4 divide 2, definitely we're not going to get the remainder. So it's going to be 0. So that is why we are saying 0 here. Is that okay? So if this were to be 3, for example, let's say 4 divide 3, definitely it's going to get us 1, which means that the remainder when 4 divide 3 is 1. And if I change this number to maybe 14, and I say 14 modulus 3, say 14 divide 3, if you divide 14 by 3, you're going to get 4, and the remainder will be what? 2. So we're concerned about the remainder, so it's just going to tell you the remainder. So that is how modulus works. Okay. So now that we know that num is equal to 14, now let's do what is called comparison, the comparison operator. The comparison operator is when you use a double equal to. So you're saying is num equal to 13. So what we're going to get a true or a false. Is that okay? Which is a Boolean operator, a Boolean kind of data type. So when I was teaching you data type, I almost forgot. There's a data type. There's a data type called Boolean. Is that okay? I almost forgot that. So they are called Boolean. So the Boolean can either be true or false. So we're going to be using them later. So it's either going to be true or false. So we're going to be using all this later. Okay, just know that Boolean is either true or false, left or right. It's either up or down. So like two opposite things. So when we say num is equal to 13, so let's just see what it's going to tell us. So if we save this and try to run this again, and just do this, we're going to get false. Can you see that? Which means that 14 is not equal to what? 13. That's comparison operator. But let's see, is 14 equal to 14? Let's do that. Is 14 equal to 14? And let's do it. Yes, say true. 14 is equal to 14. Let's also do another one. Is 14 equal to 2 plus 12? Is 14 equal to 2 plus 12? So let's compare that again. And it's going to say true. 14 is exactly equal to 2 plus 12 because 2 plus 12 will give us what? 14, right? Which is this number. And what about this triple equal to? So let's compare this triple equal to. We're going to say is 14 equal to 14, right? Is 14 having the same value and the same type with what? 14? Let's check out that and see what it's going to tell us. It's going to say true. 14 is having the same data type and the same value with 8. That's a direct, exactly equal to. So, but let's check out this and say, is 14 directly equal to 12 plus 2? So that's another comparison again. So let's check out that. We're going to also see true, right? Good. So you can use the direct equal to. Now, there are cases where you're going to be getting false, especially when the data type is not exactly the same. Okay, let's put this 14.0. I want to do that. Now, if I put in that now, I'm going to run this and say, okay, this and this. I'm still getting true. And in some programming language, I'm definitely going to get false because this is going to be float. But in the case of JavaScript, it sees all numbers, whether floats, so it sees them as what? As the same, right? Okay, so that is it. So we can also have the comparison, the operators, the greater than is number greater than, that is if this 14 greater than 12, let's check out that. So it's just going to say true. Is that okay? So the open side is the greater than, the pointed side is the less than. I think this is, we did this in our primary school. I'm very sure everyone should know that. Is 14 less than 12? So we're going to get false. 14 is not less than 12, right? So we can say is 14 less than or equal to 12? Right? That's what we want to do. So this is less than or equal to, is 14 less than or equal to 12? The question is 14 less than 12? No. Or is 14 equal to 12? No. So if you check out that now, we're going to get a false, which means that it's totally false. But let's check this way and say 14. Now, what this means is that is 14 less than or equal to 14? That is num less than or equal to 14. Okay, the OR operator means that just one of them will work. So that brings us to a little bit of logical operators. When you have a true in a logical operator called OR, right? If you are bringing in the word OR in the logical operators, which is always called the OR gate, for those coming from the background of computer science, right? OR. If you have a true or a false, right, you're going to get a true. That's in the OR operator. And if you have a false, provided that one of them is true, right, you're going to get true. That's what it means. Provided that one of them is true. But if you have a false and a false, that's when you get false. If you have a false and a true, you get true. So in this case, we are actually doing something similar to that. We're saying that is number less than 14? Is number less than 14? No. Or is number equal to 14? Yes. So it will be one of them. So we're just going to see a true yes. So if we try to run this, I'll pick this up, we're going to see a true. Can you see that? So we can do the other way around also and say is 14 greater, is num greater than 14 or equal to 14? Num is not greater than 14, but is it equal to 14? Yes, one of them is true. So definitely we're going to see a true in here. So if you try to run this, you see a true, right? Good. So we're saying that this is greater or equal to what? Equal to 14. So here we're going to go. And now we want to bring in some other operators as well. Okay. And there is also what is called, now that we've brought in the this, we're also going to have what is called the logical operator. the logical operator. That's when we'll be using the or and the and. And I think I have actually thrown a little more light on the or, at least, then the and should be what I'm going to be looking at. But before I moved into the logical operator, I would like to take us to what is called conditional statements. Conditional statement, which is called conditional statement. So what do we mean by conditional statement? Okay, I can make a conditional statement. For example, I said, if you do not have a background, at least a basic background of computer science, a computer operation, that is, at least you should know how to operate the computer, then you shouldn't take this course. If you do not know how to use the mouse and you don't know how to use your computer, you don't know how to create folders, you don't know what is a browser and the rest of, then I think you should first of all go and learn the basic computer stuff. So that is a condition for you to be able to take this course. So at least you must be able to use your computer well. Is that okay before you can take this course? That is called condition. So I'll just state the condition. I can also state the condition and said, okay, in a football game, if the ball crosses the line, if it crosses the goal line, is that okay? Then the ball is said to be a goal. And if it does not, it's not a goal. That's a condition as well. Is that okay? If the ball crosses the sideline, it's going to be a throw-in or not, for those of us that understand football. Okay, I can also say, for example, I want to make a statement and say, if I am a boy, is that it? Address me with sir. If I'm a man, address me with a sir. And if I'm a female, address me with a ma, right? And so on and so forth, right? So that is it. So those are what we actually want to look into. So it's called conditional statement. So this is what I'm going to be doing. I'm just going to be citing a scenario. Let's assume you're organizing a birthday party and you want adults to be on that birthday party. You do not want kids to be on that birthday party. And you want to program your door, the automatic door. I don't know, in any reason, maybe it's able to figure out what the person's age is. So what it's just going to do is that the automated door is just going to be that if the age is greater than 4, if the age is 18 and above, it's going to allow the person to come in, right? And if the person's age is less than 14, then less than 18, then it shouldn't allow the person in. So that's just what we want to create. So how do we create that? So to create an if statement, you use a skeleton. This is what you must not forget. So this is the structure of the if statement. So I'm going to be explaining each of them to you. In here is the condition, or the condition that you want to state. We go into these parentheses. Then the code that you want to run, we go into this, right? So your conditions here and your code here. So this is the structure. You must know this quickly, right? So if you want to make an if statement, that is what we do, right? So there's also an else statement, which means that if that condition that we made does not happen, what will happen? We're going to be looking at that later. So let's go on and state our condition now. Now, instead of condition, writing it this way, we said, what is going to be our condition? Let's set a variable first here and say this variable here is going to be age. So let's say let age equal to 23. So this is the age of the person that is coming into your birthday party, right? So the age is 23. So you want to compare. You want to say if that age, right? If that age is greater than 17, then you should allow the person in. So this is your condition. If age is greater than 17, that's your condition, right? So now, what do you want it to do? It's going to be on this code. So what you actually want it to do when it is greater than 17 is to say console.log. What actually do you want to do? You want to tell the person you're welcome to my birthday party. So you're welcome to my birthday party. Okay, so you're welcoming this person to your birthday party because this person age should be greater than 17. And if it is not, you're not just going to welcome the person in. So let's run that code now. And we're going to see welcome to my birthday party. Why? Because the person coming in, his age is 23. So it's above 17. So let me put 17 years old or 15 years old. Now, if a 15 years old is coming in, let's see what will our results. We're not going to see anything, no results, nothing comes out. You're not welcoming the person, you're just ignoring the person, you're not telling the person the door is not open for the person is not welcome, the door is shut, but nobody is giving that person any information, right? So the person is wondering, what have I done wrong, right? So you should be able to pass an information and tell that person that, okay, because of this, this is why we are not allowing you in. And that is where the else statement comes in. So you put in the else statement this way, else, and you put in your query braces. So this is the structure. So all of this is called the if else statement, which means that if the if works, then it should do this. And else, it should do the other way around. I think I just spelled this wrong. This is else. Okay. So else, it should run this code. It should run a certain code here, right? So we are saying that if this person is greater than 17, please say this. And if the person is less than that, what will you do? Else, that's what we're going to run our code. So let's run our code and say console.log. So at this point in time, we're going to tell the person that you are, so I'm going to use our concatenation key. So you are just, so age is years old. You must be 18 and you must be 18 and above to be in the party. I know this message is quite lengthy, so you can give us a very short message. So I just want us to apply the concatenation that we learned the other time. So we want to be able to get the person's age. The person's age is stored in age. So you're just going to say you are a certain age old. So you are just whatever the person's entire year. So if it is 15, it's just going to say you are just 15. So it's going to say years old. We'll tell you that you must be 18 and above to be in the party. So that's what you're telling me. So that's the S statement in there. So if that age is 15 now, we're trying to run this code. So we're going to see this. It's going to say you are just 15 years old. You must be 18 and above to be in the party. So if, for example, I go in here and change this to 16, let's save that. It's also going to do something very similar. So it's just going to say you're just 16 years old. You must be 18 years to be in the party. And if I also say I want the person to be 20, if I put age greater than that, 34, and I'm just going to run this again, and it's going to tell me that you're welcome to my birthday party. That is because the person is actually greater than what? 17 years old. It's greater than 17. It's older than 17. Okay, I believe we understand these concepts. Now, this is called the if-else statement.